Spoilers for those who haven't seen the new Mission Impossible film. You have been warned. So let's get on with it. I'm not the biggest investor in this franchise. I'm more of the casual viewer when it comes to Mission Impossible, but I've seen all of them, and if I could put this new one into a sentence, well, it's decent but not great, but also very disappointing. This film was heavily marketed as the conclusion to the franchise, Ethan's biggest and most personal mission yet, coming to an end. 8 films leading to this, and well, I can see why many love this movie and why many might find it disappointing, including myself. Just want to point out, this movie is not bad. It has fairly entertaining dialogue between the characters, and the action is fucking fantastic. It's the story, villain, and the build-up being one of the more messy and boring experiences. When the film hit its heights, it was intense and fun. However, the lowest were really low. Dead Reckoning Part 1 was set up to build this entity, and Gabriel as a villain, and more close to home. One, he did murder his wife in the end, so Ethan and his friends must stop Gabriel from getting hold of the entity and use the powerful nature of the AI has on the world. It was only fun and action, but kept you invested with the story. Characters and a villain with a mysterious vibe played well by Isaiah Morales. It was a neat kickstart of a part 1 to a conclusion to Ethan's journey. Oh, so we thought. Dead Reckoning bombed massively at the box office, forcing Paramount to change the name of this film from part 2 to Final. It was a self-inflicted at the end of the day. For a franchise that has never crossed $1 billion and an insane budget close to $300 million, possibly more through marketing, they didn't turn a profit at all. With the stacked 2023 summer, Nimrods at Paramount thought it was best practice to release a film to repeat once again that has never reached billions of dollars, and put it a week and a half before the internet crave event Barbieheimer. If I have to remind you 3 times, a franchise that has never made billions of dollars thought it could go head to head with Christopher Nolan in a film centered on one of the most popular toys. Tom Cruise is famous, but even he couldn't swarm those 2 juggernauts. Well, Paramount shot themselves in the foot, but still trusted the $400 million budget on this last entry. And well, the comparisons to The Dark Knight Rises' reception in 2012 isn't far-fetched. But I will go over the positives first. The main crew are entertaining as always. They were the highlight when it came to the calm scenes, especially Benji. His chemistry with Tom certainly carried this film, and yeah, you can tell Tom Cruise really put it in all for this one. Whether it was the emotional moments or the action itself, dude's freaking 60 and moving like he's still 30. And for the internet fans that love using his running meme, there's a lot in this film. As for the supporting cast, well, they're entertaining in their own right. Sure, a few lack development that was teased in the last movie, especially Paris. Her character sort of had this mystery to her in the last film, but they kind of bogged her down to this vengeful killer who honestly is there for the quips. What felt like what the last movie did very well was, yeah, you had Ethan, but those other characters around him had substance and room for growth. Clearly this movie sidelined them, but not their personalities, thankfully, because despite their writing going from a potential 3-dimensional character to, well, a 1-dimensional character, they at least kept the entertainment. Except for Luthen, unfortunately. Dude got the butt end early. He at least had his moment, but as for the others, what feels like their own personal grievances being hurled at the wall for Ethan's big moment, which is disappointing to say the least. Even Benji. The positive section having a bit of negatives, that's not a good look. Alright, great aspect of this film. The action is fucking amazing. As it should be. It's Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible film. Whether you hate one or love the other, there's no denying the film's up the ante from the action. The motorcycle jump to now Ethan jumping from plane to plane, all done practically. Gotta love practical effects, man. One scene that was jaw-dropping was the sub scene. Ethan has to head to the sub that the entity sabotaged into blowing up, and he must go down and retrieve the rogue AI. It's a heavy scene which the silence plays a key role, where lack of music feels like you're in the sub facing the potential of drowning in a heavily contained area. Not a good ride if you're claustrophobic, but it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. And the perfect way to describe the sequence, well, it's intense, and one of the more memorable areas of the film.
Godspeed, mister.
Now into the rough side of the film. The overabundance of needless exposition kills this movie from even being in the same conversation as the last one. The first 5 minutes is literally Madam President having an essay rundown of the previous films. This is the common issue with this movie. Every 10 minutes there is some montage explaining plot devices. A lot of plot devices, which conveniently pop up when needed. The crew comes together and explain the plan like we all have amnesia. This is what ultimately kills Mission Impossible and drags the movie on for too long. I don't mind heavy dialogue scenes, but when the dialogue is nothing but explaining the plot, explaining the plan over and over, it just kills any momentum. Dialogue heavy films should signify and illustrate characters' personality, grievances, and goals, and not explain in essay form why these million devices are for. The editing at the start gave me a bad look of how the film might hold. After a long 5-minute montage, which felt like eternity, explaining Ethan's story, the choppy editing speedruns a lot of missions which feel out of place. I kid you not. One sequent event, you have Ethan breaking Paris out of prison, then pops up at a party with Grace to find Gabriel. There's no setup. He's just there out of nowhere. No transitioning, no explanation. It's like the sequence is missing a scene in there and feels just very rushed. I thought Gabriel was fairly interesting the last film, but oh boy, he is not all that in this one. His whole purpose is going after the entity and sort of creates situations for Ethan to force him to follow through his demands. Gabriel in this movie is equivalent to a cartoon villain, saying cheesy lines, but there isn't really else to his character. For someone who is the reasoning behind the Ethan Hunt character and is deep rooted into his personal life, kind of disappointing for him to be this generic in a series where the villains were consistently fun and entertaining. The entity isn't too threatening given every move it makes. Ethan figures out a counter in 10 seconds. For the big AI threat that can wipe the face of Earth, hacking to powerful nuclear weapons, and chill in a bunker for the rest of eternity. Why? Don't know. It has a very vague motivation. After that is shoved as a background thread till the climax, as Ethan squanders into a whole list of contrived plot devices. For the record, I'm not a hardcore Mission Impossible fan. I've seen every film though, and Ghost Protocol and onwards became a damn good franchise, with unique action set pieces, Tom going bonkers and upping himself every film. An action adventure which doesn't feel generic but well thought out, and contains twists, stakes, and memorable moments which will be edged in your brain. Dead Reckoning was a nice setup to two villains, one who is a personal threat to Ethan while the other is a massive threat to the world. Both felt equally disappointing though, one being a straight up generic cartoon antagonist and the other being heavily underdeveloped with no clear purpose, motivation, and aftermath. And the previous films getting retconned for the sake of this movie, like The Rabbit's Foot. But when Final Reckoning came to the personal moments and action scenes, it was well earned and an entertaining watch. From a viewing experience, it's simply confusing or where I would rank it. The highs are some of the highs of the franchise, while the lows have a clear competition with Mission Impossible 2. In the end, Final Reckoning feels like a good film that concludes Ethan Hunt's character, maybe, but a disappointing end to a franchise that made 4 straight fantastic films, and ending on a story which clearly went through rewrites since Dead Reckoning flopped. A decent end, not a bad film to per se, but not a great one either. Anyways, that's it for me guys, so see you on the next one.